Hey, what's up, guys? Nightflux here, and we have a very special guest today. I'll let him introduce himself in a second. And we're also here with,
Spitfire, what's going on, guys?
and we are actually here if you want to introduce yourself.
Hey guys, my name is Julio. My channel Nexus Games LLC. Hey guys, how's it going? Thanks for having me.
And then Julio actually played at the Atlanta Qualifiers, and he has a great channel with a lot of content. He completely covered the event, and he has a lot of great content on his channel. We'll have a link to his channel in the description below, and a couple of his vlog videos and the deck build he actually used. So we'll start with some basic questions. How long have you been playing Vanguard for?
Pretty much just the beginning of the year. Around I want to say like April-ish. It was already it was into its second set when I started.
Okay, cool. Yeah, we started. It's probably been playing about 4 months, and Spitfire's been playing about how long would you say? Probably two.
Yeah, at least two.
All right,
Yeah.
cool. All right, and then you did play a gold Paladin build for the regionals. Now, what would you say? We're going to go into the tournament now. What would you say your best? And first of all, what was your record?
What variation?
I ended up I didn't make it past the fifth round, so I was 3-2.
Okay.
And then of course with the second loss was the elimination.
And you decided to go play gold Paladin. Just interested why you decided to play gold Paladin.
Well, actually, in the video that I show, and I meant to do a video the day before. All the way up to the event, I was thinking of running Angel Feathers.
I did see that in your other video. You commented about that.
Yeah, it's an amazing build, and the deck actually ended up doing well, which is like is me having a little bit more regret about it.
Yeah.
But I did really some hardcore play testing the night before. I mean, probably about like 40 plus games, and Spectral Duke was winning so convincingly. I mean, I was getting grade stuck 1-2 turns, still pulling out victories, and just overall from just a deck design perspective and like how well it just the advantage that it generates that other decks just can't. Duke just getting that +1 on the ride chain twice. It's just too hard for me to kind of decline. And so yeah, and also a big reason was the best of one format. For a while I was contemplating to Tsukiyomi just because I didn't want to get grade stuck. And then I was like, I try to find myself a midpoint. I felt like Duke was that midpoint, being able to get that grade 1 ability that you can search the top 7 cards for the grade 2 or grade 3. So, kind of based on how well they were doing for me in testing and a little bit of the insurance policy on not getting grade stuck, pretty much, kind of made my decision for me.
Yeah, I mean, that's the trend we've been seeing lately. Like, we ask players, why do you want to play Gold Paladin? Is everyone saying it's so consistent because you're checking 7 cards, you're getting card advantage, you're getting your ride chain off, you're not getting ride stuck, and that's critical in a what do you call it? 2 turns and you're out, 2 losses and you're out.
Yeah. And really, like, I wanted to do the Angel Feather so bad because of that. I feel exactly how you guys feel. I don't like seeing, one deck just simply dominate over and over and over again.
Yeah.
So, but, what I was kind of, maybe it's like me kind of justifying it to myself. My deck was really unorthodox compared to the ones that's been topping lately. I ran a couple cards that they don't, and the ones that I run a lot more of, like Lop Ears, I ran the 4.
Yeah, I was going to mention that.
So that was my justification if I did top 4.
So I want to say thank you for agreeing with us about Gold Paladin because everyone is still... I don't even want to get into it. But
it's like seeing the same NBA team win every year.
Exactly.
Yeah, I understand what you mean though with the consistency though. If I was like my first tournament or whatever, I definitely would want the most consistent deck. I would not want to get grade stuck at a tournament. Yeah.
I think if we were playing Swiss, it would be completely different.
Oh yes.
Way different. But that's just the way it's set up now. Maybe they'll change in the future. Maybe they'll keep it the same. We don't even know.
Yeah.
What would you say your best and worst matchups were of the day? If you want to go through them one at a time, or you want to do it overall?
I'll pick a couple that come to mind.
Okay.
I think the best matchups were a lot of the matchups that catch people off guard because I play many different decks. I do deck profiles on many different decks. I really try to study them in and out. So a lot of the decks that are successful because people don't know how to handle them, like your Grand Blues, your Spike Brothers, a lot of the so-called sleeper decks that pop up on top here and there, and pretty much win because they a lot of people don't know how to handle them. I do well against those because I have my deck contains like a lot of firepower to, like in terms of the Spike Brother matchup, being able to, not necessarily attack as much as they do, but being able to put out just as much firepower as they can. And on other matches like Grand Blue, just knowing their overall deals, and just kind of playing to that, not necessarily. I don't feel like, technically speaking, Spike Brothers do anything amazing that interrupts other people's play styles. But if you just kind of let them play their game and how to contain that as best as possible, and while playing your game, I feel like is the way I kind of handle those decks.
Okay.
But in terms of bad matchups, I do feel like Oracle Think Tank gave me a lot of issues specifically. I did take my eliminating loss to them, and I did beat one. But in playtesting, I saw a lot of the thing is that this Tsukio, when they get their ride chain and that +2, it just allows them to handle that third attack, that second Duke stand. They can survive that, and that's critical. A well-timed Duke attack, supposed to end the game. But when you're staring at like an 8-card hand, and
every turn
to push, and it's difficult.
Yeah, because Spitfire runs Oracle Think Tank, and that's the thing I'm constantly running into. He's always has card advantage over me. I say cards in hand, he says 8, and I go, I'm playing Spike Brothers. Even if I do 5 attacks, I'm not going to be able to finish the game right now.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's so conservative. It's so defensive. They have that card that gains extra defensive power when you have 6 or more soul. I forget the name, the one that you guard with.
It's Battle Sister Vanilla. You actually saw that in the tournament, because that's not really in any deck list, but I definitely see it.
Yeah, no. I was referencing the testing because my buddy does play that card. Actually 2 to 3 of. But no, oddly enough, I didn't see it in the tournament at all. I think it's a completely underrated card.
All right, and would you say you saw a good mix of clans there, or was it mostly a couple clans? What would you say the overall spread was? And you see a lot of Great Nature with Set 7 coming out, or how did Set 7 affect the amount of clans you saw at the tournament?
Okay, well, the first part of the question, Great Nature, I was actually disappointed I didn't see as many as I thought it would. I've been, promoting the deck to all my buddies because I know how good it is. And I actually saw, I believe in the New Jersey regional, one of the players who was playing it went XO, but then got disqualified or something like that.
He had sleeve issues, yeah.
Yeah, so, I mean, and, that's pretty impressive to go undefeated.
Yeah.
That means something. I thought just off that alone, I would see a lot of Great Natures, and I think it was really underrepresented there. But as far as the other clans, I did see a great mix, I felt. Just initially... In my block, it was kind of meta. I saw a lot of Gold Paladin player. But before the tournament started, just walking around as people are filling out their deck lists, I saw Kagero, I saw Goku, I saw Lockkeeper, I saw some Grand Blues, I saw a lot of Pale Moons.
Yeah.
It was a real diverse amount. Dark Irregulars. It felt like, at least from what I saw, it was widely represented. But then, of course, the top is a whole different story.
Yeah, so would you say once you got to the higher rounds, it was more of the meta-based clans, more Gold Paladin, more Kagero?
They proved why they're meta.
Yeah, okay.
Either by the skill of the players choosing the popular deck, or the deck itself. I can't say. That's kind of up to debate. But yeah, definitely the meta started to shift itself. Even though they were surprising, like on the top. Nova Grapplers were there, Angel Feathers was there, Royal Paladins was there, Pellinore, Duke. I was really happy with the top this time around. I think this is what the meta is shifting a little bit more towards. Because, especially considering the past events, where it's just like Gold Paladin, top 4,
So it's starting to get kind of a little more diverse.
I think so.
Okay, an interesting question. There's been a lot of talk about the disqualifications. Did you see, witness, or hear about any disqualifications in Atlanta?
Well, no. I didn't see any personally. I saw a couple games where disqualifications were very close by, where warnings were given, and another warning would have ended in a disqualification. A couple very critical points in the tournament to me were, first was in a top 16 match. With the gentleman that ended up winning with, I think his name was Andrew Fidela, who won with Pellinore in first place. He was playing top 16 against a Goku player, and in a very critical point in the match, the Goku player drive checked a 3 with Goku on Vanguard and forgot to retire a grade 1 rear guard. After the play concluded, the judge stepped in and gave them both a warning. He gave them both because not only is it the player's responsibility to catch that effect, but the opponent also should say, "Hey, that's an effect there."
Okay.
Which so both of them were given a warning, and there were the guy who was playing Goku made sure not to do it again, so there wasn't any disqualification there. But oddly enough, I feel like watching that match, had that Goku player remembered that effect, I think he definitely would have won that game.
Okay.
But
interesting.
then the second very close call was in top 8 match, which was the same guy who played Pellinore, Andrew versus Justin, a friend of mine who was piloting Duke Pellinore, and it was, and I'll have the video up on my channel shortly, but just to kind of briefly go over what happened is Justin, the Duke player, had Pellinore on Vanguard, and he opted to use his effect, targeting Duke on rear guard and a heal trigger on rear guard as well. So he put both of those cards on the bottom of the deck, just like the effect says.
Okay.
But then accidentally shuffles the deck.
Yeah, you're not supposed to.
Yeah, the effect does not state shuffle. Now, the Andrew, kind of like, hey, you're not supposed to shuffle. I want to judge ruling. Justin shuffles the deck and cuts it and says, here, these are the 2 cards. I'll put them on the bottom. Just cut the deck, and nothing's really changed. Because, and I agree with that. I do believe obviously there was a misplay there, but the game state doesn't change. The deck is unknown.
Yeah.
The 2 cards that were put under the deck are clear. Those 2 cards, you can just pull those 2 cards out, shuffle the deck, and say, look, I'm putting these 2 cards in the bottom of the deck.
Yeah.
Which initially the judge said the same thing. The game state doesn't really change. Let's just put those 2 cards back underneath the deck. Then Andrew insisted on appealing, which I felt was kind of, him trying to cop out. He was trying to cop out of the game.
Yeah.
He had 5 damage to Justin's 2 damage.
Oh, he was reaching it. He was pulling for straws on anything he could get.
He had 1 more turn left. So he was trying to, I think he was trying to cop out of the match. The head judge came over, and he even pulled out the manual, wanted to make sure he got everything right and show them why it was right, and concluded the same thing. Because both players could identify those 2 cards, both players can identify the cards that were going back into the deck, that the game state did not change. He issued them both a warning, and they proceeded. Okay. Unfortunately, through a couple misplays, Justin ended up losing it anyways. I feel like that 10 minutes that it took the judges to sort everything out kind of got him off of his track of thought.
Yeah, because once you get on warning, you get nervous, and you know.
Yeah, and I mean,
Absolutely.
it took 10 minutes. I mean, they had to get the first judge, then the head judge came by, and he wanted to make sure, and it took really long.
Absolutely, got to remember, you're looking at your opponent's grade checks and everything, keeping mental notes of triggers, and you wait 10 minutes, you could forget all of that, and then you have no idea.
Yeah.
The advantage and things like that, throw your game off completely.
Yeah. I thought it was a dick move, but I was a bystander, so.
Yeah, you can't really anything you could do in that situation.
Yeah.
All right. I wanted to ask you one more thing. I'm going to pass it over to Spitfire, and then we're going to pass it over to you for closing statements. One last question that I know we both discussed before we even started this interview. What is your opinion on Pelinor?
Oh, okay. I'm glad you asked me that, because I really wanted to address this. A lot of people are going to see Pelinor in top 2, and they're going to go nuts. Pelinor is the best deck ever. I need Pelinore's. Pelinor's price is going to go up. Demand's going to go up. And let me tell everybody here right now, Pelinor is not the best Gold Paladin build by any stretch. The game and I mean, this is my opinion. It's my honest opinion. Right. But I was clearly watching the games of all the Pelinor players, including the top 8, Justin, who had Duke Pelinor that I built. He literally pulled out this cards as I'm building my deck, and I'm writing down my deck list, and he goes, Julio, build me a deck, and I literally built it for him in 5 minutes. But And not to mention the second place player, and I don't remember his name, but he actually lost to him on my first loss. So I know very well both the top two decks. I've seen them play personally against them and by observing. And these Pellinore builds are like vanilla Paladins. The engine isn't really moving. You know, especially like the gentleman that I played, and much respect to him. Like I said in my video, he's an American badass. I love that guy. He's cool. But you know, he rides Garmore and searches out a Gareth. You know, and I mean, if you can't go into your engine there with Garmore, you know, and start going into some bunny engine, and then you'll see in the top 8 match when Andrew activates, he attacks with his, on turn 2, he attacks with his Vanguard boosted by the starter, activates the starter's effect, sends him into Soul, looks at the top 3 cards, and is stuck. You know, calling either one of those cards wouldn't really do anything, so he ends up not even using the effect. You lose your booster, you lose a counterblast, it's just a complete waste. I think the bunny engine is well rounded in Duke, in Azel, you know, because it's more of a mini engine, you know, like, you know, you throw it like, remember Plants and Yu-Gi-Oh, you have a whole bunch of little engines that work well together. You know, the bunny engine is a 4 or 5 card engine that you can throw in to Azel or Duke, but the straight up Pellinore build, I don't think it's good. Pellinore itself, I think, unless you're attacking for game, those minusing your field to give 2 cards 5,000, when one of the card is got to be himself, you know, your booster behind you, and you know, you're gonna pump up Pellinore's attack, and a attack that's probably gonna be perfect guarded anyways, and then you pump up your rear guard attack, and I mean, to lose 2 cards, when you see the game that I post up, the reason why Justin lost is because he had to ride in a Pellinore, and he kept using Pellinore's effect. He used it twice, and he kept having to replenish the field with his hand. And at the end of the day, that's the reason why he had huge hand advantage. He had damage advantage, but you know, it just didn't work out well. I think the Pellinore Superior Ride is a gimmick, and I think the other supporting cards are very good with Garmore and in the Duke Ride Chain, but that's about it. You know, talking about Lop Ear and you know the other ones.
I know Spitfire's smiling ear to ear right now because he's been telling me that since day one. He goes, "It's a gimmick. You're losing card advantage." And I think the other way around. I think the Pellinore's a great build, and I think it's easily play. You can play it so easily that's why people are. It's not a skill. Okay, and when I say it's not a skillful deck, I don't mean that. I mean it's one of the easier decks to play. That's why I find it like that.
But here's the thing: you're devoting 8 cards to this strategy that has a not the greatest chance of working out perfectly for you. It's 8 cards that I think you could get a much better advantage from 8 other cards. That's just my opinion.
I agree. Me and Josh are gonna have to agree to disagree.
So we have some mixed opinions here. I like Pellinore. And we have 2 players that don't.
What you're saying, you know,
it's not bad though.
I think the deck can go amazingly well if everything works well, but on the other side of the coin, it can go amazingly bad. In a game that already relies so much on luck through triggers and what you draw, why leave that up more to chance by trying to do all these superior callings that may or may not work out for you?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Just going to a less consistent build.
Exactly.
All right, we're going to pass it over to. We're going to try to wrap up a little quick here. I'm going to pass it to Spitfire. Any extra comments you'd like to ask? Anything you'd like to ask? Anything you want to state?
Quickly, what is your opinion of BTO5 and cross rides and maybe even Dragonic Overlord at the end? Do you have an opinion of those cards?
Yeah, I can't wait. Because, well, for 2 reasons. You know, a lot of people are afraid that it's going to put imbalance in the game, and it's going to change the meta, but it's just going to switch it over from these 3 decks to those 3 decks. I don't necessarily feel the way. I feel like by the time that comes around, being that Gold Paladin is so established, Oracle Think Tank is so established, you're going to add these new clans in the mix that are going to be much more viable in this meta. And then not to mention, you're going to have more of those introduced. We've already have a confirmed Limit Break cross ride in the Dimension Prison, or Dimensional Police, I'm sorry, which is going to add, you know, another cross ride. And then I believe, you know, it's obviously unconfirmed, but in set 9, seeing as we have this Azel cross ride looking like, you know, character on the front cover, well, a character that looks like a Zell souped up. So I would imagine
Yeah.
that's a cross ride for a Zell. Seeing that where they're going with that, as long as they balance out the playing field, I don't see it as a problem. I see it as the game evolving.
And-
We have cross rides. I believe we'll eventually have grade fours and things like that.
And
So
then
Mhm.
no, go on. Sorry.
Well, yeah, I just think it's evolving, and then it's gonna make the meta kind of the clan breakdown balance out even more.
I was thinking because I know there's also unconfirmed reports of Dragonic Overlord Vermilion cross ride coming out as well,
Mhm.
and then
Yeah.
and then there's limit break for Nova Grapplers coming out from Ultimate Cosmo Lord something 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 that's amazing where you can stand it and has extra critical and all this kind of stuff.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right,
So
so
I'm real excited about that stuff.
anything else, Spitfire?
No, that's it. That's good.
Anything else you
Nice
want to
answer.
wrap up with, Julio?
No, I pretty much touched on everything there. That was pretty much. The Pellinore was something I really wanted to vent about that, and it's just not everybody's got their own play style. Everybody, whatever deck you run, it's a viable deck. I love Vanguard because
Yeah.
so many decks can
Yeah,
win.
agreed.
But I'm saying that more as a warning for people who just like to jump onto hype. I'm saying this is a false alarm.
Yeah.
Continue on, wait for the next set, and Pellinore is nothing to call home about.
All right, I want to thank you again, Julio. Julio owns Nexus Games LLC. I will have a link to his website, his channel, and a couple of his videos in the link below. He does have the Gold Paladin deck he was using, so we'll have that listed below. And once again, I want to thank you for your time.
Hey, appreciate it.
You guys want to like the video, comment, make sure you check Julio out and subscribe to his channel. Leave comments below. Julio will be checking the video. He'd love to answer your comments, and we'll answer your comments as well. We love hearing from you guys. So this is Nightflux,
Spitfire.
and we're with Julio, and peace out, guys. We'll see you next time.